Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down complex ideas by going straight to the source material. Today, we're diving into an ancient prophecy, a really cryptic timeline from the book of Daniel that, according to one interpretation, has been hiding in plain sight on, of all places, the US $1 bill. So for centuries, scholars, theologians, you name it, they've been wrestling with this one strange phrase from the book of Daniel. It feels like a riddle, right? It seems to hold the key to timing future events. But what it actually means, well, that's been up for debate for a very long time. And there it is. That's the core of the mystery, spoken by an angel, no less. Now, let's be clear, we're not trying to solve it ourselves today. What we are doing is exploring one very specific, very detailed interpretation that connects this ancient verse to events happening in our modern world. Okay, so to even begin to untangle this riddle, the source we're looking at says we have to do a couple of things first. We need to reinterpret who the key players are, and then, and this is a big one, we have to completely redefine the meaning of the word time itself. First up, the woman. In this view, she isn't a single person. Think of her more like the entire spiritual family line of Israel, the daughter of Zion, the collective people that gave us both Jesus and the very first Christian communities. And our enemy, the great fiery dragon? Well, this theory says forget the mythical monster. The dragon here is a symbol for the Roman Empire. And it kind of makes sense, right? History tells us Rome persecuted both the Jewish people, the original woman, and the early Christians, who are called the rest of her offspring. So, with our characters in place, the author pinpoints the exact moment the prophetic clock starts ticking. See, after the Jewish-Roman War, Rome, the dragon, turned its full attention to the Christians. This interpretation says the starting gun fires in the year 81 AD, with the persecutions under Emperor Domitian. Now, this next part is the absolute linchpin of the whole argument. It comes down to linguistics. The source claims that the original Hebrew word used for time in this prophecy is moed, which means an appointed or set time. It's not the word adon, which means a literal duration, like a year. And that one little distinction, it changes absolutely everything. So if a prophetic time isn't just a year, then what is it? Well, this theory proposes it's a massive 430-year cycle. Now, that number isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's a direct reference to the 430 years the Israelites spent in Egypt, and it's also linked to punishments for Israel and Judah mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. It's a number with some serious historical weight. Okay, I know what you're thinking. An ancient prophecy from Daniel. What on earth could that have to do with the United States? Well, according to this author, a major clue has been hiding right under our noses, literally, in our wallets. Yup, we are talking about the Great Seal, right there on the back of the $1 bill. In this interpretation, you're supposed to forget all the talk about occult symbols. Instead, you're meant to see that pyramid as a kind of prophetic marker, a hidden calendar just waiting to be deciphered. And here's how they say the code works. It's actually pretty straightforward. You start with the year at the base, 1776. The pyramid has 12 levels, right? So you assign each level a value of 20 years. 12 times 20 gives you 240 years. Add that to 1776, and you land on a very specific date. That destination is the year 2016. And according to this source, this is no coincidence. This is supposed to be a second, totally independent line of evidence that points to one single prophetically significant year. So we've got two completely separate paths, one from an ancient biblical text and the other from the Great Seal of the United States. Now let's see how this source material brings them together into one single unified timeline. So let's do the math using that redefined prophetic time. A time is 430 years, times, and the author says this specifically means 3 times, is 1,290 years. And half a time is, half of 430, so 215 years. Add all of that up, and you get a total prophetic period of 1,935 years. And here it is. This is the big convergence. When you take that 1935-year period, and you add it to that starting point of 81 AD, it lands you on the exact same year calculated from the Great Seal, 2016. This calculation creates this really detailed timeline, starting way back in ancient Rome and projecting these major turning points right into our recent past and near future. The year 2016 is said to kick off a final 7-year period, which would end in 2023. And all of that is set against an even larger 120-year generation clock. which this source claims began with World War I in 1914 and is said to conclude by 2034. So, what's the ultimate point of this whole timeline? Well, the source material outlines nothing less than a radical, total transformation of the world order as we know it. This interpretation culminates in some truly dramatic predictions. First, an end to the Jewish diaspora. Second, and get this, it proposes that modern Christians are, in fact, the genetic descendants of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. The whole timeline concludes with a great gathering, bringing these people to a new kingdom in the Holy Land, which the author claims is the ultimate fulfillment of that phrase on the Great Seal, Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the ages. Ultimately, what this explainer shows is how ancient texts, national symbols, and even deep dives into linguistics can be woven into this incredibly complex roadmap of history. The question it leaves us with isn't really whether this specific map is correct, but what it says about our deep-seated human need to find a destination, a meaning and an order in the seeming chaos of time.